Hello BookTube, welcome back to AusLit 101, and we're nearly done with this series of videos. We have contemporary books today, and then we're moving on to poetry and verse tomorrow, which is my favorite, and it's going to be an epic video, even though I haven't filmed it yet. But anyway, let's talk about contemporary novels. So we're starting at 1988, and the latest novel I have here is 2018. Again, I've left a lot of books off this list. This is just a sampling if you want to try it out here and there. But let me know any of your favorite contemporary novels, Australian novels pretty much. There is some non-fiction in here. I did weave in a couple more non-fiction recommendations because there are some authors that I really want to talk about who I didn't get a chance to before. But anyway, let's start. So the first book I'm going to give you is Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey. This came out in 1988 here, and this is set in the Victorian period, and we follow Oscar Hopkins and Lucinda, I can't remember her last name, and they are rich compulsive gamblers. And pretty much the novel is that Lucinda bets her entire fortune that Oscar cannot move an entire glass church 400 kilometers away or 250 miles to a small rural town from the glass factory in Sydney. And so that's the entire bet. And the novel is Oscar trying to do it, and it's just so fun. Peter Carey himself is really famous. You may know him for The True History of the Kelly Gang, which is Ned Kelly historical fiction. He also done Idlewackers too. He's had a couple big books, but I've always loved Oscar and Lucinda. It's always been my favorite thing he's ever done. And yeah, so pick this up if you want to try something. Then we're moving on to another modern classic at this point, and that's Cloudstreet by Tim Winton. Came out in 1991. Tim Winton, I've never been the biggest fan of, but I do have to put this on this list because people adore it, and I know I'm very much the odd man out. But pretty much Cloudstreet is about two working class families named the Lambs and the Pickles, and they share like a large haunted house in Perth. And we follow this family through the 1940s to the 1960s, through all this tragedy and just conflict. And there's also like a supernatural element to this book, which really didn't work for me, but I get how people can like it. And so that's pick again. If it sounds interesting, you pick it up. I really like this book, but the supernatural element's just gotten away from me. But I did have to put it on this list because it has become a real modern classic. And then we're switching up. We're going to memoirs. We're going to Things I Didn't Know by Robert Hughes. Now, we've talked about Robert Hughes before, back in the early days of AusLit 101, when I talked about the Fatal Shore. The Fatal Shore. That was his talking about the First Fleet and everything. This is his own memoir. This is pretty much a group of short stories pretty much based on certain themes that he's experienced in his life, whether it's relationships or art in particular, which is really lovely, or even the accident that he had, the motor accident he has that kicks off the book. It's just his observations are just so interesting and readable. You get to see his love of Italian art and history, and also you get to hear him talk about growing up in Sydney in the 1950s. It's just one of my favorite memoirs, and I realized I did really have to put it on this list. And he deserves to be put on AusLit 101 twice because The Fatal Shore and Things I Didn't Know are genuinely great books. So pick that one up as well. And then we're moving on to Christos Ttsiolkas. I know that's not how you say his name, but I've been slowly learning it. And I have two books by him. The first book I'm going to be talking about is The Slap, yeah? And The Slap, this has a big TV show adaptation. You've probably seen this before. It's about a man at a family barbecue, and he slaps a child who's been acting up, and the novel pretty much follows that event, and just pretty much the ripples of that event, and you just see what happened in that slap through different family members' perspectives. It's incredibly interesting, incredibly layered, and it really shows you the boiling tension that was blowing up in this family secretly, curling over, whatever. It's so incredibly done. This is one of my favorite novels by an Australian author. It's not my favorite book by him. We'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, the slap. It is big, but pick it up because it's a really lovely book. Very intense at times. But then my favorite book he ever done is Barracuda, of course. This was in 2013, and it's about a young working class boy who receives a scholarship to a private school because of his swimming ability. And so he joins a swim team, and he's pretty much destined to become an Olympian. And he goes through bullying and like just being a real outsider at high school. And the novel follows, it's pretty much told through time jumps between him as a teen and then him in his 30s. And just how he didn't live up to what he wanted to be, and how he just kind of became like a normal everyday person. It's really sad at times. It's a lot, and just he crippled just because of family pressures, and also he got in the way of himself. In at the same time, it's really intense, but it's one of my favorite books ever, if I'm being really honest. So pick up Barracuda as well, but also you can't go wrong with his novels. And so then we're moving on to Helen Garner. Now, I could have put any Helen Garner, but I love Helen Garner. She's just incredible. I am going to put The House of Grief on here just as a bit more non-fiction. But again, literally anything she wrote. She done essays, like just great non-fiction books. She done great fiction books like Monkey Grip as well. And also, if you want to get a bit more of her, check out her diaries. This got reprinted in one big volume. This is her diaries from 1978 to 1998. Incredible, literally. If you love diaries, please pick up Helen Garner. They're so interesting, and so the way she writes about her own life is just incredible. But The House of Grief is a non-fiction book. It's actually a true crime book, which I've never liked true crime books at all. Like, this is literally the one exception. And this is about what's his name? Robert's I forget his name, but his name was Robert something. And on Father's Day in 2005, he was taking his 3 kids to his estranged wife's house for a drop-off. And pretty much we don't know what happened there, but all the police found was that the car was plunged into the water and his 3 kids were drowned in the back, but somehow he survived. And he was arrested for murder, and the book follows the trials of what happened. And Helen just does this so beautifully. The court proceedings are so well written. Helen's writing is just so balanced and fair. I love her opinions and just her thoughts on the evidence, and just the way she gathers this information and really just explains this case is so beautifully done. And just giving you a lot of background to what this family was going through that led to what happened. It is a grim case, but again, pick it up because Helen Garner is just an incredible author. And then again, check out everything else she ever done. But the last book I'm going to be talking about today is Boy Swallows Universe. This came out in 2018 by Trent Dalton. This was his debut, and we follow a young boy named Eli Bell. His family's very much involved with crime. His stepdad, who he lives with, deals with heroin. He's pretty like gang ties, pretty much, even though it's not exactly that. And he lives with his older brother August, who's mute. And so pretty much the novel follows him, those 2 brothers, trying to attempt to be good, pretty much morally. What does it mean to be good when you're in situations that aren't good, pretty much? I'm not explaining that right. And it's an incredible book about like brotherhood and loyalty. And yeah, what does it mean to be good when your entire life is surrounded by stuff that's morally wrong? And there's the boys are also trying to help their mum out of prison too, because she's been arrested. And also their babysitter's like an ex-felon too. So there's so much going around these 2 kids, and just them trying to find their morals in life. It's an incredible debut. I've never read anything else by Trent, but I've realized I really need to after going back and really thinking about Boy Swallows Universe. Again, it's had big adaptations. You've probably seen it before, but check out the novel. And that is just a handful of books if you want to do some contemporary Australian novels. If any of these sound good, again, pick them up and give them a try. But yeah, so tomorrow we will be doing Australian verse and poetry. Oh, that's going to be a fun video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I will see you next time.